Joining me now is Congress MP Vivek Tankha, who also joins us for a chat now. Thank you, Mr. Tankha, for your time on NDTV. So you saw what happened yesterday and also throughout the session, several developments there. As a serious parliamentarian, what were your first thoughts?
Personally, I'm a very sober and a focused parliamentarian. The reason I came into parliament was that I love debates, I love discussions, and I feel this is the way to bring a change in the country. Unfortunately, in this session, I thought from day one, BJP was never interested in a discussion. Initially, it started with Mr. Adani's issues. The American tribunal or American court had issued some sort of a notice, and that became a big issue. And then gradually it graduated to other issues. The last straw was when Amit Shah ji, while addressing us on the Constitution, 75 years of our glorious Constitution, in that 1 minute, I thought something which he didn't imagine he would be saying, but he said that it came out of his thoughts, that when he spoke about Ambedkar, and he says if you took God's name as much as Ambedkar ji's, maybe you would have reached heaven. Now, I'm sure that was not a good statement to make. It was very derogatory in the sense that a home minister should not be talking like this at all. And if I was in his place, I would have immediately apologized and put it to rest. Because ultimately, Ambedkar ji was a draftsman of our constitution. The whole country reveres him, respects him. We quote him all the time in court. His debates are taken as so sacrosanct. His words spoken at that time are believed as the words of wisdom, pearls of wisdom. So I thought as a home minister, that should have never been spoken. And if it was an accidental slip or something which was rankling his mind and it just came out of his tongue, he should have said sorry and he should have apologized. And maybe that would have controlled the situation. But you try to justify it, you try to defend it, and then next day you create a new narrative. And that narrative, according to me, I was present. I was quietly watching it from a little distance. I'm not one of those who's part of a shouting brigade, because I'm not built like that. I'm a serious person who's always lived a life of debate, discussion, deliberation. So I was watching. There was nothing that Rahul did that day to warrant the kind of accusations that were made on him. And I can't even imagine Rahul pushing anybody, because Rahul was not on the stairs. In fact, they were occupying the entire space on the stairs, and they were blocking his way when he was trying to go up. So where is the question of Rahul pushing anybody and anybody falling on him? So the whole narrative that was sought to be created, as if Rahul pushed 2 MPs and they got injured, and then the lady MP also came with some atrocious allegations which are inconceivable. The whole nation didn't like it. The thinking people in India didn't like it. People know that these such narratives are politically created to divert attention. So I think overall it was a bad show.
Well, Mr. Tankha, there's also a criticism that the Congress party in this case is being reactionary. You know, it's becoming a statement-centric party that is in some ways centering its angst on a very small bit of what the Home Minister said, you know, in his 90-minute long speech. In politics, we've seen both BJP and Congress do this to each other, use utterances, hit out each other. But what happened yesterday, the way Makardwar was so charged, don't you think there should have been more caution, more responsibility, specifically from the opposition side, because, you know, and also from the ruling side?
Can I put a counter question to you? You think such a thing would have happened if Ambedkar, Nehru and Patel were on this side and Vajpayee Adani ji and Manohar Mojoshi were on the other side, do you think such a thing would have happened? Now, this is what the country is looking for. We are all wanting that level of statesmanship, that level of understanding, that level of maturity, and that level of self-sacrificing. You know, if you want to be a big leader and you want to be respected by the people, people should be idealizing you. They should feel that they can give example about you to their children. I mean, that look at, you know, when I see Nehruji's photo in my school, or I used to see Gandhiji's photo in my school, or I used to see Subhash Chandra Bose's photo in my school, didn't you feel like respecting them? Where is that India? Vivek Tankha loves that India, and I'm looking for that India.
Right. Mr. Tankha, also as a senior MP, what is your ask of the MPs? What is your expectation? Because the budget session is going to come up in the next 2 months. What would you suggest to MPs, to the custodians of the House, to all the stakeholders? Because we've had a very fruitful debate on on 75 years of Indian Constitution. Clearly, there are some takeaways for all of us there.
You know, first of all, let me tell you, I'm a little sad about the fact that I wanted time to speak in the debate. Despite being a senior lawyer, somebody wedded to the Constitution, somebody's family being wedded to that Constitution, I couldn't snatch that 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, where I wanted to give these suggestions how to improve the polity. You possibly would not know. My father, Justice R.K. Tankha and Justice A.P. Sen, were the first High Court in India in 1975 who gave that famous judgment, Shivkant Shukla versus ADM Jabalpur. Everybody was speaking of emergency, they were talking of that judgment. I would have explained the circumstances of the judgment and how, despite that judgment, the judges of that time were treated well. It's a first-hand experience. I would have said in my speech that, like House of Commons, give 1 day to the opposition to have its agenda. You know, in UK, you never hear a house shutting down. The house is always running. There may be a furor for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then it settles down. And then the discussion starts. Now, I can't, when I see courts closing for strike, Parliament not working, it's like sovereign not working, which is not acceptable to people like me. Sovereign must work. The country has to go forward. So, as I said, it's time for introspection, but that introspection must come from the ruling party. The burden to take a good atmosphere forward so that there's a congenial atmosphere to work in this country and in the Parliament the burden is on the ruling party, because they decide the events, they decide the agenda, and they virtually decide the time in the Parliament also.
Well, the sovereign must work, the country must move on. Now, those words there from Congress MP Vivek Tankha. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on NDTV.